So I grew up in Kathi, so I always had ideas that I was sharing with the people on the streets. One of them was around the transport system. So I thought, because I saw some of the transport systems in other parts of the world, we could see how we can implement it in townships. And they were blown away to say, wow, so these are the figures, you've got your figures right, you understand how you make a profit, how much you charge people, how many buses you need. Obviously you'd understand that not really appreciating the environment. But if you do look at it, years later we do have the BRT system. So I had ideas, but my primary school teacher said to us, and I can't remember her name, but she said, guys, when you grow up, there are not going to be jobs. So you need to think about creating jobs as opposed to looking for jobs. So it was from there that I had it in my mind that I need to become an entrepreneur. So the seed was planted by a primary school teacher. And then when I got into high school, one of my teachers saw me doing a speech. I was acting a fool, I was very naughty. So she called me outside, I thought maybe I did something wrong. Only to find that I didn't do anything wrong. She thought that I was a good speaker. So she said, enter the speech competition at school because I think that you could be a great speaker. And so I entered the speech competition, I did it multiple years, and I won many of the times. Particularly in my matric year, where I won most of the titles. And so I was the best speaker at school in matric, and I decided that, look, I'm going to take those natural attributes and invest in them, and then I'm going to study public relations. So that's how I ended up doing public relations. And then eventually entering into student leadership, starting to write articles in newspapers to get my brand out there. That is a part of public relations because we're communicators. And that built me into someone who is differentiated from his peers. And eventually got a job, learned what I needed to learn, left the workplace, started Ditshego Media in 2011. My mother, when she was young and she was studying nursing, she says that she would read out loud the study material while I was in her stomach. And she read somewhere that kind of has an impact on the child. So I kicked a little bit while she's reading some of the material, and when I was born, I was surrounded by reading material. So it was inculcated by my mother and my father. My father's an intellectual, he's a world-renowned writer. He's one of the thought leaders that a lot of people follow, not only in South Africa, but in many other places in the world. Canada, United States, Europe. His works have been published all over the world. So coming from that kind of environment gave me an advantage. And I became interested in African history, interested in biographies. At the age of 6, I already came across Dr. Shikanda Diop, who's a Senegalese nuclear physicist and anthropologist, who wrote about the history of Africa that is more glorious, Afrocentric, that speaks about how we were already pioneers in maths and science before colonization, how we would cross-pollinate with the Greek people, with different information, and a lot of them who, such as Plato and Pythagoras, learned what they knew. So Plato learned a lot of the philosophy for 13 years from black people in ancient Egypt. Pythagoras studied in ancient Egypt for more than 23 years before he could understand the Pythagoras theorem. It was actually taught to him. So these are things that boosted my self-esteem from a very young age in being an African. And I've always been a proud African because of the information that I had, and it's built my self-esteem. And every day I have a thirst for knowledge and learning not only about me and my history, but learning about other people's history and being empathetic in that instance. Well, with this Bell Pottinger saga and a lot of the fake news that we're seeing going around, anyone can start their own website and start to spread lies. So there is a lot of suspicion, especially if you are paid to boost the reputation of an organization. So people will be suspicious. But what you need to be as a person is you have to be someone who is credible, someone who can be trusted, and someone with integrity. That's what you have to focus on. You cannot be thinking about only, oh, people think that we're spin doctors and so on and so forth. What are you doing to boost the profession? And one of the things that are working against our profession is when organizations hire people because they're their cousins, they look good and they might speak well. That's not public relations. Public relations is all the activities that speak to developing the credibility and the image of the organization. And you only develop credibility if within the core of your organization you are actually standing for the values in practice. And so public relations will speak to the core of the business strategy. You will talk about how the business is positioning itself, how it treats its employees, the corporate culture. You will talk about the policies of the organization, transformation within the organization. You can't just say I'm a transformed organization whereas you're not transformed. So it can't be that superficially on the surface you look good, but inside you're not really what you're standing for. So public relations is not about spinning things, it's about clarifying things. It's not just about looking good, it's about really being good. And I think that is what is going to help to assist our profession to have more credibility, especially me being on the board of the Public Relations Institute of South Africa. Public Relations Institute of Southern Africa. The social media youth training was absolutely exceptional. We were so impressed with the audience that came to the Wits Sports Conference Center. I think it was amazing. These people are entrepreneurs, they're young professionals. They are people who will be shaping our country and leading our country moving forward. So giving them the tools in which to build their brand, to build communities, to build organizations was very important. And our objective for today was very simple. We want you to walk out of that room smarter than you were in terms of building your personal and professional brand. That's what it is. And we started this training session by talking about the importance of strategy. What is strategy and what is not strategy? And they got all of those insights, and then we moved on to how they can enrich other people's experience of their timelines. Because it's not just about you selling your products and services. It's about how do you enrich the timeline in a way that is aligned to your strategic communications objectives. And I think it was a resounding success. People really enjoyed themselves at the social media training. We've touched the majority of the provinces in the world, and up next, we're going to be going to Limpopo, Northern Cape, and to the Eastern Cape. Once we've concluded those 3 training sessions, we would have touched all 9 provinces. The reason we want to go into Rwanda is because it was voted the second easiest place to do business in Africa, second behind Mauritius. And we want to go into Rwanda also because of the strides they're making in innovation and technology, and because there's a huge opportunity to develop their public relations and marketing industry. And I think that there's no better company to do it than an authentically African company with an African agenda which understands the African market. And that's where Ditshego Media comes in. We've already had preliminary conversations with potential partners in Rwanda, and we've already spoken to the High Commissioner of Rwanda to South Africa, Mr. Vincent Karega, Habarayako Vincent, and we are looking forward because we've got great relationships with the people of Rwanda, and we just want to see this opportunity where trade between South Africa and Rwanda goes from strength to strength, and we want to be a part of it. We want to revolutionize corporate Africa, period. We've gone through colonization, and we've survived. And now is the time for us to assert our African identity to the globe. The world cannot wait for Africa to assert itself because they are looking for something new. And we cannot offer something new if we're busy copying other people, what other people are doing. Our authentic culture is what we have to offer the world. And I'm excited about that. And that is one of the objectives of Ditshego Media, is that we want to sell the culture, the spirit of Africa to the world. Because that spirit is going to give life to humanity across the world. It's also going to create opportunities for economic growth across the world, and opportunities for us to also ensure that we can become globally competitive. Africa is the future, and knowledge is the currency that we're going to sell. And it's not just going to be plain knowledge, it's going to be Afrocentric knowledge.